Hey everybody, Bert from AstartesGaming here, back with another video on Total War Warhammer. Today we're going to be taking a look at some mods for Total War Warhammer, actually just one specifically. This mod allows you to play as any of the Bretonnian factions in the campaign. It's missing some of the, fleshing out that the other ones have, but it is fully playable. You just don't get, cutscenes, you don't get... I think there's still objectives, but they're not like handcrafted ones. They're just the random ones that you kind of get that pop up every once in a while. As you can see, all the different factions are playable. So Bretonnia, Artois, Baston, Bordelou, or Lo, I think that's Lo, Carcassonne, Lyonese, and Paravon. So they're all playable. But this is really cool to see because I think everybody's been waiting for Bretonnia to be playable. They're really the only, I guess you could call race that's not represented by a campaign yet. At least that's in the vanilla game. So the humans have the Empire, the dwarves have the dwarves, I guess. The orcs have the greenskins. Vampires have the vampire counts, and like the Norsemen and Chaos have the Warriors of Chaos, but the Bretonnians didn't have a campaign. And the rumor, or the current gossip, is that they'll be the first DLC faction, or I guess technically the second, because they released Chaos as day one DLC, but they'd be the next DLC faction released as playable. And I tend to believe that after seeing this mod, because a lot of the stuff in this mod looks like it was already in the base game and just wasn't accessible yet. So without talking too much further, let's go ahead and jump in. But before I do that, I wanted to shout out the mod author. His name is Mad, either Yonat or Gonat. It's Madjonat. But yeah, so he's the mod author. He's got several mods like this up, so if there's any other faction you wanted to play as that isn't represented in the current campaign options, definitely jump on the Steam Workshop and take a look, because more than likely he's got a mod for it. They're currently organized in different packs based on race. So if you wanted to play as any of the human races, there's a pack for that, or any of the different dwarven factions or clans, there's a pack for that. If you wanted to play as some of the Norsemen who aren't necessarily part of Chaos, you could do that as well. If you wanted to play as Kislev, although I believe they're just a reskin of the Empire, you could do that too. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump in. The faction leader here is not correct. You will not be playing as Balthazar Gelt, so do not worry. You'll be playing as Luen Liancourt, who is the king of the Bretonnians. So do not worry there. This is just a placeholder. The technology tree, actually he does mention this on the screen, so I'll show you right here. The technology tree is the orc tech tree until the DLC releases, so it's just a placeholder for the tech as well. I do not know if the tech tree is fully functional for Bretonnia, but it's a placeholder. Okay, so the mod starts out a little bit weird. You're way zoomed out. Part of this too is I have a camera mod running that lets me pan out a little bit further and zoom in a little bit closer. So yeah, you start out in the right place, you're just way zoomed out. And so that could be the camera mod, but I don't think the game knows to zoom in on this particular region, because again, this isn't a default part of the game. But as you can see here, the buildings are all faction specific, so this training field is the Bretonnian training field. It's not just like a holdover from the Empire. So this stuff is all in the game. This looks very Empire-ish, so maybe not that, but this stuff certainly is. There's no Grail in the Empire. There's no trebuchets for the Empire. So yeah, all the buildings are faction specific. All the units you may recognize from the the Bretonnian units in the custom game options, and then you can see the king is here. He is considered cavalry, so I think he is just a just like a mounted version of an Empire Captain, maybe. Let's take a look at his skill tree. So Blade Master, Inspiring Presence, Route Marcher, basically the standard stuff that you would see from any Empire character, but he does have the option to get a Pegasus mount, and also it looks like some kind of Griffin mount, Beakus. I'm not super familiar with Warhammer Fantasy lore, especially the Bretonnians, but it looks like some kind of Griffin. And then you can see that these blessings and stuff here are very specific to Bretonnians as well. So this looks like another thing that was already in the game, just not currently accessible. And what else do we got? You can see all the different units here: Mounted Yeomen, Yeoman Archers, Paladins, Knights of the Realm, Grail Knights, and Pegasus Knights. And let's take a look at the units. Although you can check these out if you have the game. You can check these out in the custom game options, because the Bretonnians are playable for the custom game. But just in case you weren't aware, I'll go ahead and show them off quickly. These are your basic infantry, the spearmen. As you can see, they're very, very cheap. The men-at-arms are slightly, well, almost double the cost, and are a little bit better in both offense, defense, and charging. And while they're not shielded, they do have... Oh, they don't have armor. So these guys have the shield. They have no armor. Well, they have some armor, but it's the same armor. And then they do have armor piercing on their weapons. But I think where the Bretonnians are really going to shine is their cavalry. As you saw, we have the mounted yeomen, who are like the first tier cavalry, and the Knights of the Realm are like the mid tier. And then beyond them, you have the Grail Knights. And then even beyond that, you have, I guess, what's considered like monster units, the Pegasus Knights, who are basically flying cavalry. And I imagine they are pretty effective, considering they're probably like demigryph knights, but in the air. So I imagine that will be one of the better units for the Bretonnians. But when the DLC actually comes out, I'm sure they're going to flesh the whole tree out a little bit and give them more options, because right now having like one of each is a little bit sparse. It feels a little bit sparse. Same with the bowman here. You literally only have one archer option. So they might add like a crossbowman or something. We'll see. Same goes for the artillery. They only have the trebuchet. That's their only option for that. Let's see. If we go to recruit lords, what are our options? Okay, so these guys are faction specific as well. That's a pretty badass helmet. How about heroes? Damsels and paladins. Okay, so those are faction specific as well. And if we try to... Okay, so just the cavalry there, that's our only option, right? Let's take a quick look at diplomacy. So they start the game at war with the Skull Smasher orcs. They're near some undead, but it looks like everybody nearby them is tradable, with the exception of the Skull Smashers. So this looks like a pretty easy start, all things considered, especially since they start out at strength 5, and these guys start out like very low. So I think conquering all of Bretonnia for yourself would not be very difficult, at least it seems. And raking in some solid income probably won't be very difficult either, considering all the trade options you have. What else do we got? Let's take a quick look at the tech tree. As you can see here, it is just the straight up orc tech tree, no changes. Even the tooltips and stuff are the same, so I'm not sure how exactly these apply, especially when they're referencing specific units. But I guess we'd have to play through and find out. Speaking of that, if you guys would like to see me do a playthrough on this, I'd be happy to do it. We just ended Airships Conquer the Skies, and Total War Warhammer 2 isn't far behind. So there will be some space on the channel if you guys would like to see it. And I'd be happy to do it. I might even do it in my free time anyways. So again, let me know if that's something you guys would like to see. You do start out with quite a bit of money here. That's kind of surprising, actually. I think that's a lot more than you normally would. But, hey, free money. I think that's about it. There doesn't look to be anything faction specific here. There's no offices like there are for the Empire. Although that would have been kind of cool to see something unique to them. Maybe the DLC will have something, but if not, it's no big deal. Is there anything else? I don't think so. Just real quickly, so again, you can find this on the Steam Workshop. Very simple to install. You just subscribe, and then you don't even really need to do anything beyond that. It should automatically activate when you click subscribe and then start the game. If it doesn't, just go into your game launcher, find the mod manager button, click that, and make sure the box next to the mod is ticked. But in my case, it did that by default, so you probably don't even need to worry about that. But just in case the mod doesn't work for you immediately, that could be why. Beyond that, you don't really need to do anything at all. As I said before, there are several other mods he's made just like this, with every different faction you can think of. So if you're not particularly interested in the Bretonnians, there are other options for you. You can play as one of the smaller orc factions, one of the smaller dwarf factions, the Kislevites, whoever you want. There's basically everybody there. So yeah, I think that's going to do it for today. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Please feel free to share my videos however you guys see fit, and I will see you guys back here for the next, The next Total War Warhammer video, I suppose.